Hello and welcome back to DukascopyTV. Today I'm joined in the studio by Hervé Pretra, Director of Credit Suisse here in Geneva, but today he's here as an ISAG representative. Hervé, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you.
Now, first of all, ISAG come in every month to speak to Dukascopy, but can you give our viewers just a little bit of a reminder of who ISAG are and what they represent and what this consensus today represents as well?
ISAG stands for Investment Strategists Association of Geneva. It's a gathering of strategists or advisors of main banks being in Geneva. We have, for instance, Société Générale, BNP, Credit Suisse, Lombard-Odier, Pictet, Banque 6, Unigestion, Héritage, Mirabeau, just to name a few.
So it's really a coming together of all the experts in the financial trade here in Geneva. So this is the last consensus of 2012. What does this say moving into 2013? What did ISAG see for 2013?
Well, as usual, when strategists and economists meet, we have different viewpoints. But however, we could come down to some consensus first on economic growth, that there's not going to be any major recovery of world economic growth. Europe will be very slow, if not negative. The US will continue its recovery, but only gradually. And emerging markets will still be the locomotive, the main source of growth for the world, but to what extent, as there is likely to be still a deceleration from what we experienced in past years. As a result of this consensus, it will be hard for strategists and portfolio managers to reach yield without taking too much risk in 2013. As a result, we have somehow some consensus on being very positive on emerging market currencies, being positive on gold, being positive somehow on credit, being negative on government bonds, and I would say neutral to positive on equities, or slightly positive but cautious on equities.
So well, you mentioned emerging markets there. ISAG do focus quite a lot on emerging markets, and that's linked quite a lot to commodities. But we saw commodities actually come out as neutral. Why was that? Well,
we don't see any much momentum for many commodities. The reason for this is that although emerging markets will still have a growth, to what extent will the deceleration be? There's a big question mark. And if you have a country like China, which consumes 1/4 to 1/3 of industrial metals, as a result, if the main client has some lower economic growth, their demand will be tame. Same for Europe. Growth will be extremely weak. As a result, demand will be low for industrial commodities. For oil, we have another factor with the United States full in its shale gas project, triggering some significant drop in oil import from the US. So if you come add this up with industrial metals being quite cyclical, thus with a tame economic growth, not getting so much momentum, plus oil, same story for oil, besides geopolitical risk, only gold and precious metals are likely along the consensus to be expected to have a positive return. We can't be positive on those, thanks to precious metals and some of commodities which are decorrelated. We are not negative. Neutral is basically what the consensus of strategists brings.
Just lastly, Hervé, we often talk about growth with ISAG, and what were the main areas of growth that ISAG see now in this month?
Well, actually we can't really trust Europe in terms of economic growth, nor we trust Japan. We see it rather as a risk. There are two sources of growth. First, the United States, thanks to a recovery in real estate prices, a recovery in consumption, a decline in unemployment, and all the investment momentum in shale gas, reducing the bills for US corporates. The other growth path are emerging markets that once again will be the main key contributor of growth to the world economy. However, to what extent? Maybe not as much as we used to see in the past years, in the past decade, but still helping some the negative part of the world.
Thank you so much, Hervé, for coming in and sharing your insights with us today. That's all from us here in the studio, but ISAG will be back at the same time next month to discuss their consensus again. Goodbye.